Globally, 1 in 3 women have experienced sexual or physical violence in their lifetime. Violence against women and girls is a form of gender-based violence that can take on many manifestations, such as violence in post-conflict settings and domestic violence, which is often referred to as intimate partner violence. In India alone, over 90,000 women are victims of assault annually, and in many other South Asian countries, up to 50% of women have reported physical violence from their partners. The issue of domestic violence against women in South Asia is one of extreme prevalence, impacting women and girls of all ages. In South Asia, domestic and gender-based violence causes more death than any other form of violence. This violence affects a broad spread of victims, from young girls living in their parents' homes to older women that have been with their partners for decades. Domestic violence is any form of behavior committed by an intimate partner or former partner that causes physical, psychological harm to an individual. This can take the shape of physical abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, reproductive coercion, or similarly harmful acts. This phenomenon mainly consists of violence committed by men towards women. This violence comes with many health effects that can either be short-term or long-term. The effects include physical trauma and mental health problems such as post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety. The diverse religious and cultural traditions within South Asian countries have led to rigid patriarchal attitudes that result in widespread violence against women. Many forms of violence towards women are specific to this region alone, including dowry crimes, bride burning, and honor killings. While most South Asian countries deem violence against women to be illegal, laws are often poorly enforced or exclude violence perpetrated by family members. Additionally, social stigmas against speaking out prevent women from reporting violence. Traditional/regional causes for violence. Even in cases where local laws outlaw domestic violence against women, traditions and cultural beliefs are often what cause norms that discriminate against women. For example, several indigenous religions that are practiced in this area, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, emphasize the subservience of women and normalized unjust acts against women. The ancient Hindu laws of Manu, discourage the education and independence of women. This doctrine also refers to women as property of their husbands, rather than individual members of society. While modern Indian society has shifted away from outwardly obeying these laws, the ideas behind them continue to prevail in many parts of society. Additionally, many South Asian countries are fairly rural, meaning that there are less opportunities for people to receive education, especially women. In Pakistan, for example, 75% of the female population live in rural areas, and only 35% of women are literate. Women that are uneducated are unable to defend themselves due to their lack of knowledge on their fundamental rights. Forms of domestic violence against South Asian women. Physical abuse. In a sample of men from various South Asian countries, upwards of 45 married men openly acknowledge that they have physically abused their wives. In another sample of women who have been physically abused by a partner, 15% said that they had been abused while pregnant, and 72% of the physically abused were diagnosed with depression. Honor killings. This is the murder and/or torture of women that have violated the societal norms imposed against women. This practice is usually carried out by men who believe their daughters, wives, or other female family members have acted in a way that will bring dishonor to the family. While this practice is becoming less common, it still affects thousands of women and girls in the region. Dowry violence. Dowry refers to the property, goods, or money given to a bride's family to the grooms as a condition of the marriage. However, when the groom or his relatives are unsatisfied with what has been received, it often results in aggression towards the wife and her family. A common form of dowry violence is stove burning, where women are either burned through intentional tampering of a gas stove or directly lit on fire. The United Nations Committee on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. The United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women is one of the primary UN conventions focused on ending violence and discrimination against women. It is one of the only human rights treaties that protects the reproductive rights of women and also targets cultural traditions that primary influences that dictate the role of women in society. It calls for the constitutional equality of men and women in regards to fundamental rights and laws, and measures to ensure that women have equal opportunities to serve as local and international representatives of government. This is an effort to decrease discrimination against women and potentially incorporate women into lawmaking positions in order to give them equal representation within the government. Several South Asian countries, such as Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, are signatories to this committee. However, gender-based discrimination and violence continue to persist. UN Women, South Asia. The UN Women branch, specifically focusing on South Asia, was launched in 2007 as the primary information base for the status of women in South Asian countries. As the issue of domestic violence is prevalent in this region, reporting on this issue is one of the group's primary goals. The organization also works towards supporting the efforts of civil rights organizations and women's rights advocates in these countries. This is becoming increasingly important as more women are beginning to protest and speak out about this pressing issue. However, freedom of speech laws often restrict uncensored disapproval of the government. UN Women South Asia also provides regionally specific information and data to policymakers of the 8 members of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation.